Russ Mitchell, college football news, lead SEC columnist. How are you, my friend? Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Kicking the tires, lighting the fires, brother.
Happy birthday, Nick Saban, Russ.
Happy birthday, Nick Saban.
Did you call him and tell him? I mean, since you guys are now buddies.
Nick and I don't talk, man. No. What is he now, 73?
67. 60. Come on, 67. 67.
67.
He didn't look 67. I hope I look that way at 67.
So do I, man. Well, first of all, he's got a good barber, so that goes a long way.
Okay.
But he eats the same meal every day. He exercises. He takes good care of himself.
He does. Russ, we're hours away now. We're on a Wednesday. Last week you were giving us reverse rat poisoning. We made a couple of shows out of what you said. Do you feel the same way, or has your changed? Have you changed? Because we reserve the right to change.
Yeah, it's good to reserve the right to change. Only an idiot stays with the same opinion over and over, for year after year if the data changes. But the data hasn't changed in a week, man. So, I've spent a lot of time on this game prepping into it, and this is going to be, I think, a much harder game than a lot of Alabama fans think it's going to be. Even with free Devin White, even with arguably the best linebacker in the SEC having to sit out for, an entire half. That just sucks. Can you imagine, just for a minute, that you're a young man who has the sweat and the blood and the toil, the years and years of practice, behind the scenes that nobody sees that you've put into your craft. And Alabama's coming to town for the biggest game of the century, and you miss half of it over that chicken you-know-what call from 2 weeks ago. It makes you feel, whether you're an Alabama fan, LSU fan, or just a fan of football, it makes you really feel for that young man.
I'm with you. It's certainly a disadvantage. I mean, especially going up against one of the most explosive offenses that we have seen in some time. I mean, he's a signal caller. I mean, there's no doubt he's going to be missed. I mean, he's a top 4 or 5 pick in the NFL draft. He's a talented kid.
I'm not going to go that far. But, I will tell you, I spent some time over there, but he's a talented kid. I will tell you, I spent some time over this last week looking at pictures of Tim Tebow crying on the field in Baton Rouge, looking at McElroy crying, looking at McCarron crying. I mean, that field has made a lot of quarterbacks cry. And, sometimes in relief, sometimes often in sadness. But I look at the fresh baby face of Tua, and I think to myself, where have you ever been in your young life, Tua, that's anywhere close to what you've never been anywhere in your life that could prepare you for what you are about to experience in 3 days? Because the national championship game, that was 50-50. Dude,
Georgia dominated.
That might have even been more Alabama fans in that stadium than Georgia. There's probably a few more Georgia fans than Alabama fans, but nothing like what he's about to. There's nothing that young man has seen in his lifetime that's going to be comparable to what he's about to face on Saturday.
So, Russ, you still believe that this is a 7-point game?
Yes.
All right, for LSU to win this game, where do they need to keep this score at?
And this is why Bama's going to win this game, because for LSU to win this game, they're going to have to be perfect on offense in particular. They're going to have, and when was the last time LSU's offense was perfect at anything? And what I mean by that is, they can't make mistakes, they can't have turnovers, they can't have too many penalties. And, I've listened to a bunch of people say this is where Joe Burrow's 50% killed them, right? And we're talking about the young man's completion percentage, the quarterback at LSU, which, if you've been paying attention, his completion percentage has not been very good. However, if you dig a little bit deeper, his completion percentage in passes 10 yards and less has been very good. So, and that's pretty much all they're going to let him do in this game. And, conversely, if you're an Alabama fan, the thing that I hang my hat at, LSU's run defense is good, but when you throw Jalen Hurts on the field, you got 5 different guys 5 different guys who can run the ball very well. And I think that wears LSU down. If you can avoid the turnovers, if you can avoid the noise, right? Again, this is the toughest game of the season. Not only is this game is so tough in terms of the fans and the stadium, it's like compared to everything else you've played so far this year, it's like going from D+ to A, right? And that's why I get frustrated. I wish you had played, and you got to play the schedule you have, but I wish you'd had a few B- before you had to go straight up to A, because it's going to make the first half of this game tougher. But I think you'll keep it close, and I think you'll just wear them out in the second half.
When we look back at Jake Fromm, and I know everybody points to 36-16, Georgia gave them 4 turnovers. I mean, it's hard to beat a team when you're -4. But Jake Fromm was 16 of 34. He was less than 50% passer. His QBR was 16.7, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa is not going to give you that. I mean, this guy's 25 touchdowns.
Fromm didn't give it to them. They took it from him. Look, that's the same quarterback who went out next week in a neutral stadium and ripped apart a good Florida team. It's not like he gave it to LSU. They took it from him, and that stadium took it from him. If you want to say, where they messed up is if you watch that Georgia LSU game, Chaney, who's the offense, they were running the ball. Holyfield was running the ball against LSU. They ran down the field. LSU scored the first field goal. They basically ran the ball down LSU's throat. We're averaging nearly 7 yards a carry, and then did that silly fake field goal, which didn't work. And then LSU was up by 3. They kept the momentum, and then Chaney stopped running the ball and started throwing, which put pressure on Fromm. That, if you want to, So, and I expect Alabama to run, but it's not like. And by the way, one other little caveat: this game's going to be kicked off. It'll be dark when this game gets kicked off.
I mean, we're not afraid of the dark. I mean, it's.
Yeah, you know what, brother? I'm not afraid of the dark either. But if I'm wearing an Alabama jersey and it's in that stadium and it's dark, yeah, I'd be a little bit more concerned than a 2:30 local kickoff time.
All right. So Russ, you feel very confident
You're kidding yourself, man. The last time you went into that stadium, it was 0-0 going into the fourth quarter, and LSU didn't even have a quarterback. You can say all you want about Joe Burrow, but in 2016, they didn't even have a quarterback. They played the game without a quarterback, and it was 0-0 going into the fourth quarter. I mean, what do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
Russ, who put you
How
up to
high
this?
is your
Who
ego
put you up to
that
this?
you think you can walk in there after having played nobody all year? Right? Your kids don't even know how to play 4 quarters of football.
You don't subscribe to that, do you? I mean, we played nobody. We've also never played in the fourth quarter with our starters on the offensive side of the football. Come on, Russ. You don't buy into that, do you?
Which is evident of the fact that you haven't played anybody. Look, I got to tell you what, this is the toughest, this could be the toughest game y'all play all year, including the conference football playoffs. This game in that stadium at night will probably be the toughest game that Alabama plays all year.
I'm with you, man. I'm not buying that this is going to be this difficult task that's Alabama will. You said what your friends over in the desert said, right? 14.5 points right now.
14.5 points. You know what I say? Never wager on children because they'll always disappoint you. But I would be very, very comfortable taking LSU and 14.5 points in this game.
All right. So why don't we do something friendly here? I mean, I'll take the Bama minus 14.5. I mean, you like Dreamland barbecue sauce? I mean, I'm just trying to think of something.
I would be very, very, very comfortable taking that wager.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Tell you what. At the end of the day, Alabama's going to win this game, and they're going to win it because LSU's got to be perfect offensively, and I just don't. I mean. When was the last time LSU's offense was perfect at anything?
All right, tell you what we'll do. Tell you what we'll do, Russ.
but it's
next
not 14.
Next week, no. If Alabama beats LSU by the spread, 14.5, we'll lock it right there. You got to come on next week for 15 minutes and take phone calls from these Alabama fans. We've already done this before.
Yes. Yeah, it was a train wreck. I would be happy. That's a very comfortable bet for me because I do not think I will have to pay that off.
All right, Marquise, record this. Russ Mitchell will come on in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and we'll do our normal, 15-minute breakdown, and then we'll take calls for 15 minutes.
Look, this is what I think happens. I think the game's relatively close in the first half. I think you've got 5 guys that can run the ball against LSU. Eventually, they're going to start wearing down. Even with Devin coming in the second half, you can expect their talent. You can expect their talented secondary, Greedy and Delpit. Both of those guys are NFL players. They're going to have to cheat and come up to the line, and that's where Tua breaks them apart, breaks their heart in the fourth quarter.
Well, and I think there's so many wide receivers here in Tuscaloosa. I mean, you got to kind of pick your guy. Okay, you cover that guy. Plus, hey, we got a tight end. I mean, it's just as good as most wide receivers. Irv Smith. I don't know. This is a different Alabama team. I think they're on a mission. Russ, biggest.
You guys have been reading too many your own newspapers, man. I mean, I just want to say this one more time. If this game was being played in Tuscaloosa, it'd be a completely different thing.
Russ, why do you do this, man? My callers are literally – I have no lines available.
Because your callers wear rose-colored glasses, man. Your callers have no concept of
All right, so let me run through some of these scores. We did our score prediction contest yesterday. 50-10, 42-10, 38-17, 42-17, 45-14, 41-7, 45-9, 56-6, 51-6, 54-6.
Do me a favor. You've got tapes. You record everything, right?
We record everything.
Go back and find out what your callers said about the game in 2016 that was 0-0 heading into the fourth quarter and needed two missed holding calls.
That was Jalen. This is Tua. This
28-yard scamper up the middle for a touchdown to get any touchdown.
Yeah, but that was Jalen Hurts. This is Tua Tagovailoa, man. This is
that was LSU playing, without a quarterback, and now at least they have a 23-year-old transfer Yankee quarterback who's going to come down and at least. I'm telling you, the deviation. Y'all are better this year, but LSU's offense is better this year than it was in 2016 too.
All right, Russ.
50-10. Good God.
56-6. I mean, we're confident, man. We're confident.
Yeah,
What's wrong with?
Wish y'all had played somebody before this.
All right. Real quick. Final couple of seconds. Georgia, Kentucky. Give me your thoughts.
Everyone wants to talk about Kentucky's offense and their runner, Snell, and they want to talk about their big offensive line, and I understand why. But that's not what's made this Kentucky team good. What's made this Kentucky team great is their defense. Their run defense is one of the best in the country, right? The only time that they allowed someone to run for over 130 recently was A&M. They lost that one in overtime, right, in College Station. What happened the last time Georgia couldn't run the ball, couldn't run for over 130? It was LSU, and they lost. I'm calling the upset. I think Georgia goes up into, Kroger Steel's not Baton Rouge, not Death Valley. But the spread in this game is 10 points, too. Georgia's giving 10 points on the road. I think Kentucky could win this game straight up. I think they make it one-dimensional, smack Fromm around, and it'll be a nail-biter in the fourth.
All right, Russ, if somebody knocks on your door tonight, are you dressed up as something? Or do you give out candy? What do you do? Somebody knock on.
Give out candy.
Well, what do you give out?
I give out Snicker bars, man. In my house, we give out full candy bars, brother.
Man.
None of this pansy stuff.
And you must live in the nice neighborhood.
We're dressing up as zombies. We're the zombie family tonight.
The zombie family. You got to put this on Twitter. You got to.
No, I don't. It's my personal family business. I'm not putting that on Twitter.
Yeah, but you put a lot of other stuff on Twitter.
I do. Sometimes I put pictures of Claire because she's so damn cute.
All right.
But,
all right.
But we'll see.
But you do send out the best Christmas cards of anybody.
Hey, how do you think this Alabama team? It's all a good thing you all have Nick Saban as your coach because he's so tough, man. He's tough as a rock. because I'm telling you what, when this score is 6 points or 3 points heading into the fourth quarter, man, y'all looked scared in 2016. Alabama's team looked scared in 2016 when the score was 0-0 heading into the fourth quarter. And I'm telling you, I hope nobody on this team thinks it's going to be 34-0 at the end of the half, because they'll be scared too when it's tight heading into the fourth quarter.
We're not scared. We're not scared. I mean,
you all go back and look at the tape.
Hey,
you look scared.
Just go ahead, look at your schedule for next Wednesday and block out 30 minutes for us, okay?
I'll talk to you later.